the founder and director of Kati Dhan, a startup working in the agri-tech and wildlife tech space, building technological solutions to help farmers overcome their crop losses. He has background in product design and development and design skills, always looks at building and scaling tech solutions for larger impacts. His career in EdTech or robotics, where he was instrumental in building India's largest consumer robotics company and overseeing its growth, challenging labor-intensive markets such as India. He's also consulted with many startups, organizations, and companies in building their ideas to execution, especially in the Internet of Things segment in India. And a personal note, when we announced that you were going to be one of the speakers for a webinar series called Coexistence in Practice, several people said, "Is this the Shark Tank guy?" So that's another way that he's known. So over to Ayan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samira. And thanks, Anjali, for the introduction and also the connection. So before I start, I'd like to also thank Anindya, who kind of introduced me to Coexistence Consortium here, and for this opportunity to give this small talk today. So just a brief background, a little more context. I'll just add to what Samira just mentioned. Yes, I was present on Shark Tank India. My episode was there in March in season 3, and we had won a deal also. Like I mentioned to others as well, I come from a very engineering perspective of the entire problem statement. That is the crop losses that occur due to wildlife attacks, and how we have tried to build or are continuing to build solutions that protects both the farmer and the wildlife. That is, it doesn't harm them, it just kind of deters them, maybe changes certain aspects of the behavior. So that's what we have been working towards from a long period of time. We have fairly faced a lot of challenges and also some successes that hopefully will create a long-term impact. So I'll just share my screen. Right. So today, I'd like to bring about focus again from a very engineering perspective on technological solutions, specifically direct intervention tech that helps in reducing conflicts. Um, the the perspective that we come out, at least engineering point of view, is that how do we are well versed with building any kind of technological solution, whether it's a hardware tool or a software tool. But the idea is how do we build something that could potentially alter the behavior either of the human being or of the animal. I'm sure most of you are aware of a lot of these kind of systems available in the global market from a very long period of time. But somehow, at least when we began almost 7 years back, we didn't see a lot of such initiatives happening in India, where people were spending more time and effort on building a technology. Of course, there's still a lot of import that happens. I mean, if you talk about wild trap cameras, you would not find any Indian manufacturer. I would no, there is actually no Indian manufacturer as far as I know who has been building wild trap cameras. Hence, the cost of making that equipment is quite high, like today. And for the conservation efforts, or even for the regular farmers to, let's say, afford it becomes a big challenge. So while building solutions, we had to keep in mind who is the larger population that is kind of getting affected, and what is the purchase parity? Like, how will they be able to procure them? Like, I mean, you can go and build anything. I mean, we can build a robot, we can build a drone, we can build AI tools.
I think you paused.
Yeah, I think there are network and power issues all over Bangalore. So maybe he can give the presentation and keep video off. Maybe all of us can keep video off. That might help.
I think he's joining again. Just wait. Sorry everyone for the technical issues. Let's give him 5 minutes.
Oh, hi everyone. Apologize. There was a sudden net disconnected because of the power cut. So yeah, I'll get back to my slide. So I'll just share my screen again.
Yeah, thanks, Ayan. It might help if you switched off video for bandwidth.
Sure, sure.
I mean, whatever you prefer. If you think you have enough bandwidth, that's fine.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. One second. All right. So I had begun my uh, presentation with how important it is to work on the direct intervention tech, at least the basic background that I had started with. So this is how we have identified the conflicts. Of course, who are involved majorly, it is the humans and wildlife, and of course, it is affecting the larger ecosystem. What actually happens in the conflicts is a lot of economic losses. Now, fatalities are increasing year on year in a densely populated country like India. Although the data says that there's a lot more bigger amount of conflict happening in the continent of Africa, in different countries in Africa. However, the amount of the density of fatality losses are much more in India these days. So usually what we have seen is that these conflicts happen majorly during cropping cycles when the wild animals in search of course, there is easy food resources come into human habitats and um, just attack the crops. I mean, they majorly want to come down to eat maybe about 5% of the crop, but end up attacking almost 30 to 40% of the crop, which which in turns distresses the farmer, and in retaliation, they end up taking some very provocative steps. And climate change and deforestation is also becoming a major cause these days. In fact, I can, to stress on this point, I can give a very good example that has happened just 1 month back. As we all know that in Bangalore, at least there was a huge heat wave occurring in the month of April. Um, so the water resources in when the Banagata forest area was almost depleted. So there was a horde of, I think, 5 to 7 elephants, the herd of 5 to 7 elephants that were frequently coming outside the forest and attacking the land areas. There was one of our customer who recently started installing our technological solutions after the attack. So previously, what was happening was the elephant was coming in, damaging, like breaking into the wall and just going in. Maybe because they have a small pond inside their large farmhouse. They were just going and sleeping near the pond. So all this is due to the climate change effect, and they were returning back in the morning. But what the problem was for the client at least was that they were on a regular basis breaking down the 8 to 10 feet wall, and that was causing a lot of distress to them, and they were also damaging their small vegetable farms and everything. So this is another reason that is kind of increasing, for which the animals are moving into human habitats. Um, why, of course, as I mentioned, the change in habitats and the food resources, where exactly it happens. So um, initially, at least over the years, it used to happen very closer to the VDF areas as defined by the Ministry of Forest, called very dense forest areas. Uh, but now it has started moving into the MDF, sorry, it's misrepresented. It's middle dense forest areas, which is where when human like farmers and all start cultivating or agricultural land is slightly closer to the forest areas. And there are cases where when people have taken over the forest lands, the wild animals have started coming inside the land areas. I'm sure most of you would have read about the leopard movement that was frequently happening in Bangalore, cases which has happened in Mumbai also. Now, yeah, that base. So how does it happen is majorly is because of the reduction in forest cover, which again is something very common. As I mentioned, the focus is on direct, but to distinguish what exactly is the difference between a direct and indirect technology that can be used in conservation efforts. Direct intervention tech is nothing but which works with the animals on their behaviors, either to improve their well-being or to reduce the conflict. So it has a direct, I would say, impact on the behavioral systems. While indirect technologies are nothing but which are used majorly into capturing data more for kind of a conservation effort. A direct intervention tech can be used for various other things, not only conservation, but indirect tech is majorly for conservation efforts. So under direct tech, these are 5 most commonly ones which I have noted down here, but there are many more. The radio collars, GPS collars, which again would require satellite tracking system for people to identify. I think most of the studies on the tigers and the number of tigers or the number of wild animals present in a certain land area is being done using this particular technology. It has its pros and it has its cons. GPS, again, I don't know if many of you know, is Global Positioning Systems basically works on the US satellite tracking system. So there is a push from the Indian government to move on the local NAVIC-based satellite. Indian government has its own satellite-based system, but it is not very commonly used, and that is one of the reasons why we do not have any products or technologies still built on that. There is a lot of scope to do that if we can work with the ministry directly, because they are ready to give their licensing so that people can start building these technological solutions and technological tools, these GPS collars or radio collars, and fit it into the onto the animals to maybe track them. And the other aspect is GPS or any of these satellite tracking system can have a minimal rate of failure, but again, the failure is there. It could become significant, specifically during weather changes. So if anybody really wants to have a much more refined, I would say, tracking methodology, then they will need to build a local networks inside the forest area. Again, that can also be built through something called LoRa's, which are local-based networks, which will be able to project the data from the remote forest areas without the presence of GPS or even the GSM-based system, that is your mobile phone. Of course, we don't get mobile phone services networks in most of the forest areas. Then comes the remote sensing cameras, which are both wild trap cameras and cameras with drones. Again, what is a remote sensing camera? A camera with a sensor. In a very basic layman definition, a camera with a sensor is called a remote sensing camera. The sensors can be widely differed, but the most common one, what we see in wild trap cameras, are the PIR, or the ultrasonic sensors, so the one which detect the motion of any object, and it starts capturing pictures or videos and sending off the data. Now, there's a lot more scope of, I would say, improvement in that, where instead of a microwave, we can start looking at using radar-based camera sensors for more clarity in the terms of what kind of animal is being captured. I mean, the camera itself automatically can determine that instead of having any human intervention. The third aspect is where we have been concentrating on is called the deterrence or the acoustic deterrence. Now, deterrence systems are again non-invasive, which are trying to alter the behavior of wild animals to keep them away. Just as it would definitely not be a 100% permanent solution which will work lifelong, because animals, any wild animal is adaptive in nature, but it does give that periodic effect of at least 3 to 5 years timeline, for which during which the human or the farmer or whoever is user would be able to take necessary steps and measures. Fourth one is drones. Drones are still being explored. I mean, till date, drones are being majorly used in conservation only to maybe capture the videos and track. Tracking wild animals is also not much majorly, because again, the limitations in drones is their battery capacity. What we get in the market is having maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes to a stretch. One battery cycle, you can maximum carry about 3 batteries. So you can maybe use one drone for just 1.5 hours before you go back and have to charge all 3 battery sets. For if you're doing these conservation efforts, if we are taking care of the plantations, the farmlands, then we need maybe petrol drones. So there's a lot more work that needs to be done in the drones before it can completely be used as a direct intervention type. AI-powered acoustics cameras, again, these are nothing but the advanced versions of what we currently have to make it more accurate, which is again something a lot of people are still working on, but with the caveat that not many of them are converting this into, I would say, more of a business model. They are still building prototypes, doing maybe a small study, and then keeping it, I mean, just storing it back. And the right answer, the indirect one, is much more straightforward, where it is all about softwares, data-enabled tracking softwares, apps, the blockchain-based algorithm. This is more comparatively easier because it does not involve a lot of hardware. Software is much more easier to build in comparison to hardware tech anywhere in the world. So just like I mentioned, these are just pictures of some of the tools that are in the direct intervention tech. Now coming to the species, I have highlighted only those species that we have currently worked on. I mean, this can be used across multiple species across the world. Indian elephant, nilgai, wild boar, tiger, Himalayan bear, the leopard. So these are the six major ones that one of our product currently works on. Now, what we have been able to accomplish through the light-based deterrent system is that with a simple design logic, this particular system will be able to deter all these six animals. Please keep the monkeys aside, just the six animals, because most of the attacks of these six species for the moment of these six species have been recorded to be happen during the night time. Of course, there are cases, but as far as our ground data survey is concerned, it is about 90 to 93% of the movement happens during the night time. Elephants is majorly southern India, northern India, and near Assam region. Nilgai is completely North India belt. Wild boar is, yeah, this is very important. According to there is no specific set of studies or data released by the Indian government in terms of the number of losses that happen from each animal, but in whatever limited studies they have done, wild boar is turned out to be the maximum amount of the damage caused by an animal. It's the wild boar, the crop losses. The second is nilgai. Third comes the elephant, and of course, fourth is the monkeys. Um, the bottom three are majorly considered to be responsible for livestock losses. We can include even snow leopards here. That's where our journey started in Ladakh, where snow leopards we used to attack the livestock of some of these villages, and they wanted a solution in which they could maybe keep them away without causing any harm to them. At least it was the conservation organization we came. Now coming to the monkeys, monkeys is the only monkey, whether it's a bonnet macaw, rhesus macaw, or langoose. These are three more uh, majorly common monkey species of monkeys which are causing a lot of losses. They attack during the day. They do not come out during the night. Now, how do we? What is the solution? I mean, like I mentioned earlier, for the remaining six, we had built a light-based solution, but for monkeys, what could be a solution that could work? So we experimented with ultrasonic and bioacoustic deterrents, in which bioacoustic deterrent systems turned out to be fairly, I would say, successful. So I will definitely give more details on the technology in the next few slides. So this is the problem that we have taken up as a company from the direct intervention tech. We came down, we were focused on only one thing: how do we reduce the economic losses that happen in the agriculture sector, which is actually increasing the conflict that is happening in most of the rural areas. There are, I mean, in our experience, there are two things that we had seen. One is that um, humans, of course, are majorly responsible for escalation of this. Yet, in certain areas, in let's say in Uttarakhand, there was a district called Almora, where there are like 2, 3 villages that have completely emptied them. I mean, all the habitat, all the people have completely left the villages and they have moved out to cities. They stopped growing crops because a large number of monkeys had invaded their land areas. Now, what is that resulting into is consolidation of these animals into certain pockets, which is kind of increasing. Again, they're coming, of course, in search of food, but that is resulting in something as drastic as this, where the entire human population had to completely shift. And for this, the age-based solution, I mean, the age-old solution, what people tried is to add something called a jhatka machine, electric fence, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, a solar electric fence. Now, the only aspect is, again, when we come back to the cost of it, the cost of adding something like this for a small or a marginal farmer becomes extremely expensive. And it ends up, they end up being largely dependent on subsidies. So this becomes a gray area where a lot of, I would say, local people, I mean, the local villagers, the technical guys in the villages, take advantage of, and they have built the solar electric fences without, I mean, crossing the limits that the government of India had provided, which again resulted in a lot of fatalities. I'm not sure if people know about it, that the Chikmagalur district completely is filled up with these electric fences, and we keep hearing stories once every month or once every 2 months where an elephant keeps dying in Chikmagalur district because that's where their habitat is. And how do we work around a solution that kind of takes care of all these aspects is what we started off with. So the scale of the problem again, this is scale is to be defined by the government of India. In fact, I think in the next 2 or 3 years, they will start formalizing these things into their yearly reports, like how they have been doing it for the pest, the crop losses due to pest attacks. However, according to some of the reports, this is where uh, the scale is as huge as wildlife attack causing about 10,000 crores annual crop losses. Now, it's not a small number for a smaller or marginal farmers. Scores of people are involved in this, and where people have started accepting that about 30 to 40% crop loss will happen every year due to that, and in due to which they are not able to manage their economic conditions, livelihoods, and most of them trying to migrate to cities to find other jobs. So again, how do we kind of work around the solution for this? So these are the two product solutions that we had built from direct tech perspective. One is called Paravraksh, which is what I had demonstrated on even on Shark Tank. Was it's a autonomous light deterrent system that kind of works against all the species that I had mentioned earlier. Now, uh, in simple terms, in engineering terms, it's a very simple system. For anybody who looks at it, also kind of wonders, ki, how does this small device is able to keep away so many large animals. So the USP of this entire device is nothing but the design. So we have tried to make it uh, look like another animal's eye. So what happens is during the nighttime when this particular system works, any animal, whether it's an elephant or an nilgai or a wild boar, when it looks at it, they kind of see that these lights are flashing in different patterns. They feel that that is nothing but an eyeball or an eye of another animal which is moving around in that particular area. And that's how they leave that particular area and move away to a different location. 96%, Nilgai is about 94%, and tigers, leopards is around 95%. So that's how successfully this has worked. On the left-hand side is something what we have built called a Kapicart. It is a again, IoT powered solar powered bioacoustic system. The difference here is that this system has got a sensor which triggers only when the animal moves in front of it. So here again, we built that majorly for monkeys because, like I said earlier, monkeys only attack during the daytime. Now, what it does is once the monkey movement is triggered, the sensor gets triggered and it starts playing different bioacoustic sound files, which are nothing but different animal sounds, which are again programmed in such a way that they keep changing either every week or every day. We can add a different program depending on the condition. Having said that, we have also released a caveat saying that this particular product has only about 70% efficiency because we are dealing with monkeys who are extremely smart. I mean, the adaptive nature of monkeys is much higher than any other animal, and they kind of tend to get used to something like this over a period of time. Still, there are people who want to use this system as a warning system so that they at least get to know that there's a particular moment of an animal occurring at that moment of time. Just sharing a small database about how the product, I mean, this is where we need to focus more when we are trying to build any direct intervention tech on how do we build a ROI for these particular people who are getting affected of it. Now, we have been very conscious that we want to convert this into a business as a profitable, sustainable model that can work on its own. As in, we build a product that is affordable by the end communities, they directly buy it, and that's how the cycle grows. Unfortunately, most of the solutions or most of the technologies are still very grant dependent or dependent on somebody to come and subsidize it, like a government of India or a forest department. And again, over the years, this is another challenge that we as a company also facing while we are trying to convince the farmers to directly purchase, because their mindset is completely fixed with the subsidies. The solar electric fence is almost around 80 to 90% subsidized by different state departments or state governments. And that's why the farmers don't want to invest in this, because they expect the government to come and support. But that cannot be a sustainable solution, and the government cannot support, and a subsidy system will not be supporting all the people affected in that land. It will maybe support, it's like a lottery system, right? It will support maybe 100, 200, 300 people. But what about the thousands, 2,000 people who are kind of getting affected in particular district? So that's where, keeping all that in mind, our focus was to build a simple solution. So this was the last slide about us, but I just share a couple of few videos. Sorry. Just want to show you how exactly the light works during the night time. This is the video that was captured during the night. So as you can see, the lights flash. See, it looks like an eye for the animal. For us, it looks like a regular box. But how does it look for the animal? That's how we designed it, and everything depends on the design. There's not much about the technology. There's another video that I'd like to show. These are some of the activities that we had done now. So this was one of the demonstration that we had to show in the Maharashtra Forest Department in front of a panchayat. That's where now the challenge that I had mentioned to you, that farmers are overly dependent on subsidies. They want to see the product working on the ground before they purchase it. This is a challenge because no business can sustain can actually keep doing these demos or pilots across India. That's why we need to kind of partner with other organizations or people to take it forward. So that's what we started off with the partnership with Forest Department, who gave us this opportunity to showcase it to these farmers over there. And another video I'll just show you about. So this is installed in Sikkim against monkeys. A, a lot of effort was added, was done to ensure that this particular device, ka solar panel, is more flexible. The reason being, sound takes in a lot more energy. Yes, there's another aspect in design that we had to take care of, is how do you provide enough energy to these systems? Because most of these systems will be installed at the outer border areas of your land area, where you don't have any AC power supply. So for that is and sound again triggers with like I said, sound consumes a lot of battery. So we needed this solar to ensure that it keeps giving back the input to it. So some of these are things that we have to take into consideration while building this tech. And one final video, yeah. So this is again a custom design. There are cases where people wanted a sound and a light system added. So yeah, so this was a combination of a sound and a light system, where the light works during the nighttime while the sound triggers when the sensor is triggered there. So overall, now coming back to the overall topic. So direct intervention tech is still at a very basic level in India currently. I mean, we are just one of the only, I would say there are 3 or 4 who are actually building it in India. There's a lot of scope, a lot of market. And one of the reasons why we also came on to Shark Tank India was to showcase it to people that there is a possibility to do something like this if a lot more focus, a lot more effort goes into building sustainable business models, sustainable technologies, definitely the cost would come down and we don't have to depend on imports and we can start building it for the people who are actually facing these issues on the ground. So that's about it from my end. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ayan. I think we have some, we're open to good questions now. We have some questions in the chat.
Yes.
Would you like me to read it out, or would you prefer to read it on your own?
Yeah, I'm reading it. Is the light anything different or like a Vidyut has asked, is the light anything different or like a normal torch on and off also work? And how is the location identified? So the light is okay. Let me do one thing. Let me show you another video. That
Ayan, sorry, 1 second. Before you share screen, can you please click on the icons that say share laptop sound, audio, and video? We weren't able to hear anything in the videos.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me show you how the light. So there is a yeah. So basically there is a sensor on top of this light and this is how it looks. It automatically turns on when the sun sets and flashes in different patterns. There are 4 LEDs across 360 degrees. So it works in all 360 degree pattern and it turns off during sunrise. So this is a simple system. It very important to just answer Vidyut's question. This is not a torchlight. The light will not fall on the ground for you to actually see something on the ground. I mean, this is a question what most of us, most of the people confused with, that they want to, they expect the light to fall on the ground for a larger distance. That doesn't happen. What it does is it looks like a eyesight. It blinks like an eye. It is visible from a distance of 150, 200 meters, depending on the land area and how the land surface is. But beyond that, I mean, from there, that's where the animal has to move around. But for human beings, it'll look like a very small speck. So we have to differentiate when we were building. We had to differentiate. We had to think from the animal perspective more than the human perspective, on how the animal would kind of look at this light and feel what it sees. So this is the light, and I'll just play the sound one. Let me play this one for them. As you just heard now, it was one of the sound files. We added a lion roar in that. There's a tiger growl, there is a gunshot wound. So typically what people try to do in the rural landscape is when, let's say, for example, an elephant movement has come, they try to throw crackers at it. They so that the crackers burst. And yes, definitely if some of the elephants get scared or they don't want to get into the path, they move away. Even the monkeys also. But over a period of time, there is a chance that the crackers could, not fatally at least, maybe injure the animal. So how do we kind of use the same sound files into an automated system is what we have built. This, if you can see in the center, that is a sensor which it will trigger, identify and then triggers that. So I hope this have been able to answer. So I'll just check the other questions. Location, yeah, the identification of the location is again completely dependent on the user, because they know very well from where the animal movement happens majorly into the land areas. But ideally, we ask them to install it at the border or border area of the land. so that the animal from there 150, 200 meters away, it looks at it, changes its path and doesn't come into the farmland. Cost. Yeah. So the cost currently, because we're still small. I mean, although we have got some funding on Shark Tank, still we are a hardware tech company. We need to manufacture at scale to reduce the cost. Right now, if somebody would like to buy 1 unit, then we will quote them 9,500 each product. But if anybody, like say some organizations, buy it in bulk, then definitely the price comes down. We definitely won't want to come down maybe half the price of it, because a lot of tribal farmers and smallholding farmers would not be able to afford it at 9,500. They would want it at, let's say, about 4,000, 5,000 range, which is what we're working towards. How do you rate the success of these devices? This is from NCF. So the success is completely coming from the feedback given by the user who's paying for it. We have taken that the percentage effectiveness also has come from our own data of the number of devices we have sold into the land areas over the last period of 4 years, and how where it has failed or where it has worked. The failure rate has actually become as very minimal. And the feedback again is coming from a paying customer. A paying customer, the important phase of being a paying customer is that they do not lie. They would want it to work for whatever period of for whatever the worth is. They would want it to work because they paid for it. Now, for an elephant, again, like I mentioned, it's between 90 to 95%. It keeps the elephants away for a very long period. I mean, we have examples in Odisha, we have examples in Kur where they have been using it from almost 3.5 years, and elephants have not come into that. Having said that, like I said in my presentation also, we would possibly give it about 4 to 5 years for a smarter animal like an elephant to figure things out. Again, why they're not getting used to it? Because the patterns that we have added in that keeps flashing differently. It doesn't repeat. So the animal doesn't get used to that. If the flashing patterns repeat, definitely the animal will get used to it and figure out what is the what kind of whether it's a product or another animal present over there. So that's how the rate of success is coming through. Do both the systems have moment detectors? Oh yeah. There's a question from Ravi. He's asked whether both the systems have moment detectors to trigger the response. No. The moment detector is only in the audio system because it works during the day, and it should play out the files only when the animal is present. There are a couple of reasons why we designed like that. One is, of course, energy, power system. Like I mentioned, acoustics consume a lot of battery. Every trigger of sound would be able to drain the battery within, let's say, 2 or 3 days, and you need to keep charging it. So that is one of the reasons. The other is the disturbance. Any sound system will cause a disturbance for both the humans around it and even the neighbors and all that. So that's one of the reasons. But the light device does not have a system to movement detector system. It has a light detector system. That is, it turns on when it sunsets and turns off during sunrise. So it works only during the night time, but it flashes entire night. That has to be done because again, the logic is that if there is a movement detector sensor added, the sensor will trigger the light only when the animal comes close by, because movement detector sensors have a very short range. About 10-12 meters is what a regular sensor provides. 10-12 meters is too short a range for an animal. Initially they'll get surprised, but later they will definitely figure out. So you need a light which keeps on consistently blinking the entire night. Does the system have another question from Chandra? Does the system have cameras? Currently it does not have a camera because we wanted to make it cost effective. We are working towards adding cameras, but again, we are figuring out how a larger population will be able to afford it. Again, the challenge again with cameras is the power system. Cameras need AC supply for it to work very well. So that's the thing. Just a minute. Yes, Samira, you have a question.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to ask if you can share the journal publications you had mentioned in the chat, if that's easy. Answer any questions that people have here in detail.
Sure. So, okay, I'll have to get that. I'll share that with you guys as,
No
after this.
worries. You can just share it then with Anjali and she will pass it on to everyone else
Sure, I'll do that.
later.
Definitely, sir. So the next question with Vidyut is thumb rule. Thumb rule, Vidyut, according to our experiences, you need 4 devices of the light for 1 hectare. That is 3 acres land area. The next question of Ravi is, can you explain the biological ecological basis of the lights acting as a proxy, as a deterrent? Ravi, actually, to be honest, this is a very well established way of work thing globally. If you look at it, light-based deterrents have been in the market working against a lot of predators in the Northern American landscape and the Australian landscape. Now, what we have taken is we have definitely taken inspiration from there and tried to see if we can build something more contextual to the Indian market. What we wanted, only the difference, what we thought was we wanted to make it look like an animal as far as possible. Again, very importantly, keeping the cost factor in mind. That's the reason why this is the whole logic in which we built it, and it worked. I mean, all the data, all the figures that I've been quoting is from what it has been working from last 4 years. That's one of the things. NCF, do these key devices keep elephants away or push them to neighboring areas, which means we are shifting the problem rather than minimizing? In that, shouldn't we keep these aspects while estimating the effectiveness of the device? That's a valid question. And I don't know who from NCF, but yeah, that's a very valid question. Currently, we have limited ourselves to just focus on how we can protect one particular land area. If it pushes the elephants to another land area, the other land area would possibly need our solutions to again push it to another land area. But that is something that ideally happens. It does not happen in real time, because if that would have happened, the solar electric fences in Chikmagalur district would have worked everywhere. It doesn't keep pushing the animals are like again coming back and saying they will figure out over the period of time. But until then, what is that we can provide as a solution to this that's where that's the whole idea from where we worked on. Chandra has a question on copycat is most needed in Sikkim. How can you get how? Yeah, Chandra, to be honest, to copycat, like I mentioned, we do not sell it in bulk, unlike the light device, because monkeys is a much more challenging problem, and the effectiveness, honestly, we're going to give it as only 70%. What people can use copycat is use it maybe as an early morning system, where if they install in one side of the land, the monkeys come, it starts playing out the sound files. People at least get to know, okay, there are monkeys coming, and then they can take the respective measures. Of course, initially it'll definitely work. Initial period of time, maybe it could work like for rhesus macaw, it has worked for almost 10-11 months before they started getting used to it. For bonnet macaws, it works for about 3 to 4 months. So that's what we have seen. Definitely they can, and maybe they can keep shifting the device every 2 months to keep confusing the animal. That definitely, but I would ideally suggest you to do a pilot before you look at having it in bulk. Yeah, have the monkeys or other animals damage any of the systems? None of the other bigger animals have damaged. Monkeys have come and played with the copycat. Because they have tried to identify why the sound file is playing. In fact, one of the experiments we did it in here, Devrani Durga, there's a temple there near Tumkur. There are a lot of monkeys there. So we installed a system in a crowded area just to see how it works. And initially, the monkeys, for a day or two, they were very scared with those files, but they were coming more closer to the system. Then what we did, we added a soft toy of a tiger next to it, and they actually got even more scared. They were running away, but yet but still it did not prove that it was kind of working against them. That's why we do not actually sell it in bulk. They came a little more closer. They started touching it and trying to understand what is the system and all. So in other ways, you can also say that this they're not ignoring it. They definitely have some sort of a sense of I don't know if I can call it intimidation from that particular system, for which they were trying to be more curious and trying to attack it. What about loss of equipment due to or theft? Sorry, just a minute. Yeah, it has not happened for a very long period of time, because if anybody even takes it away, it doesn't make any sense because it works only for the animals. But yet, we have given a small locking mechanism within the at least within Paraprak, so that it people can lock it to the metal fence that they are connecting it to. So I'll just take a question from NCF. They have raised a hand. Please go on, sir.
Yeah, and this is Anand from NCF, and thank you so much for the lovely presentation. Very interesting. I was just wondering, because if you look at most of our interventions, technological interventions, there is no end to that. Okay, but there are primarily two responses. No, one is that animal should respond to the system where it moves away, or it responds to system, or it moves towards the device or whatever intervention. Yeah, they don't care. The second thing is about the people. So people should also accept this and move, or there must be a behavioral change in people.
Right.
But what I have seen is that certain individuals like elephants, because I study elephants, and some individuals will actually walk towards the light. Okay, we have seen elephants walking towards torch light, like when we focus on them. And elephants are generally problem solvers. They will be able to differentiate between what is a light, what are the gimmicks that we make, and what is not. Yeah, because just to give you an example, that there was a study that was conducted by Dr. Upili, playing different kinds of sounds, so distress calls and tiger calls and lion calls and stuff. Elephants, initially that there was some kind of it acted as a deterrent, because elephants didn't know that suddenly these things have come up. But later elephants started using that. I mean, got used to the whole thing and they didn't care about it. Okay, so these fox lights, so they've been used in Bannerghatta region and even in other places in Tamil Nadu also. What I got feedback was that it was very random. Some individuals may avoid, some individuals didn't care about it. So how do you actually deal with that kind of situations? Because in my view, or in my understanding, whatever a little bit of understanding of elephants, is that they are problem solvers. They have an amazing way of dealing with a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Anand. Very valid point, and we also acknowledge that. So the difference again with between our at least I would say the process of designing this product and the Fox lights that you have used is that the technology, the electronics is the same, where they are also flashing lights, we are also flashing different lights. But the idea was we wanted to make it look like another, I would say, a face of an animal. Majorly, I'll tell it out. We wanted to make it look like a tiger. A tiger or a leopard's eyesight. Now, what we have at least understood, although I will take the inputs and data from whatever you guys are saying, much more than what we have identified, because you have been working in this from a very long period of time. But at least in our limited experience, we have seen that the elephants would like to avoid the land area where the particular light is being flashing. thinking that there is either a tiger or some maybe a predator present during the nighttime, and they don't want to get into conflict with them. Now that
Not really, not really. They have been
Okay.
born and brought up in areas where there are predators, there are tigers,
Right.
there are leopards. Okay, I mean, they may
Right.
exhibit some little bit of hesitation or whatever kind of thing, but they can
Right.
also smell. So they have amazing sense of smell. So they can actually smell whether it is really a tiger sitting there or an object looks like a tiger.
Right, right. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, like I said, in our limited experience and the lights that we have effectively installed, I would say for elephants, if I give you a data point, it is southern Karnataka near Dinkanekottai, Coorg, and Assam, near the Kaziranga forest, where it has worked extremely well. And these are not small numbers. I'm talking about these are almost about 300, 400, 500 devices just for elephants. So
Okay.
from that data perspective, I'm saying ki it is that maybe this is one of the things that they are kind of maybe looking at it. The other point, maybe the difference I would say from Foxcats and others, we for elephants we would ideally ask them to install it at a certain height, that is about 8 feet minimum. For this light to be in the direct line of sight with the elephant's eyes. And in certain areas, like I think in Kerala, recently where I had been there, they have elephants which are about 11 feet height. So there we're advising them to install it that height. So that is also making a slight amount of difference on how the elephant is perceiving this light. Now, coming back to one more important point, Anand, what you mentioned, this is not a torch. I agree. Elephants actually get attracted. If you put up a solar lamp or a normal light, elephants will come towards it. They will not walk away from it. But this is just a flashing light. This it just keeps flashing in different patterns during the night, and that's all it does. It doesn't do anything apart from this. So that would possibly be the difference how it is working.
Okay.
But yeah, coming to it, we'll have to do a lot more. I mean, it needs to keep improving, and we have to keep working on it. So that's how it is.
I know. I mean, there is a lot of improvement needed, and to field trials are needed, and to field the effectiveness should also be estimated. Yeah.
Right.
I was just wondering, so if somebody doesn't have a question, can I ask one more question if I can request to the organizers?
Yeah, Ravi also has a question, but yeah, we
Okay,
can
yeah.
have, then I'll ask Ravi to.
Okay. No, I was just wondering whether is there any possibility to develop a geotag?
Yes, it is definitely.
Okay.
I mean, again, we have not done added. I would say I have done most of the R&D and we have kept it ready. We have not launched it in the market because we are revenue based. Until the Shark Tank India thing happened, we were completely revenue based. We don't have any support from any. We are a private limited company. We can't get grants also. So keeping that in mind, we had to sell the product, and the people could only afford what basic necessity they wanted. They didn't want the location data. They didn't want all that. So we did not add into that. But definitely we can add something onto that. Yes, Ravi, please tell.
No, it's the biological basis I'm interested in. I mean, flashing lights, okay. And when you're saying 8 feet and 11 feet, no tiger is that tall. So I'm just wondering, I mean, you have results, the lights are deterring, but it's the eye sign connection and making it look like an animal. I mean, as an ecologist, it's first time I'm hearing any of this. And from my field experience, it doesn't seem to gel.
Okay. Perhaps, Ravi, I mean, this is what our understanding had been. Again, I'm telling, we have much limited experience, Ravi, to be very honest. We just went along with the feedback that we were getting in from the users who were working on the field. We started with 6 feet. We tried with 8. We went to 11. Then from the difference there is what we were able to capture, and we felt that we got the results at 8 feet and all that. That's how it started working. I will maybe try and get back to you on this particular answer, exactly what kind of biological change it is maybe giving and something like that. So I'll come back to you on that.
No, I'm not questioning your results. Because you had explained it, saying it made it look like an animal, eye shine, and then in response to Anand, you talked about tigers. No, those things don't add up. It's that explanation that I'm a little concerned about.
Sure. I mean, see, tigers, of course, no tigers is 8 feet and all, but it it kind of gives an indication that the tiger or a leopard is probably present on the branch of a tree at that height. So, I mean, these are all the logic that we try to apply, and that's how it worked. And why again a tiger is, yeah, it definitely looks like a tiger because there's no other animal's eyes that flashes like that during the night. Maybe a fox, but fox is too small. The size of the eyeballs are too small. So
No,
that's
no,
how
in,
people.
in nature, none of the eyes are going to flash. No, unless we flash a light to the eye shine is not going to get reflected back.
Yes, yes, yes. That I agree. But that's how it looked like. It does look during the nighttime, right? When we put a light towards it. So for an elephant also or any animal, it looks like that. That's
Anyway,
how we were able
I'll
to
rest
do
my
it.
case. You understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
From
yeah,
a
yeah.
cellular biology perspective, I mean, I'm still left with questions rather than understanding how it's working.
Sure, sure, Ravi, sure.
Okay, I think, yeah, shall we wrap up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Anjali, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say the same. I think you've crossed the time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
No,
Ayan.
I just wanted to add that,
Yeah.
sorry, one sec, Anjali. I wanted to add that from the discussions, it's very clear that there is a lot of scope for collaborating a bit, collaborations between those who study animal behavior and those who study elephants, tigers, and other large mammals, and engineers. And that I hope that this is only the beginning of many larger conversations that will lead to very successful interventions in the near future. And thanks everyone for joining. Over to you, Anjali.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I think I have nothing more to say, but to thanks Ayan again and thanks everyone for being such an engaging audience. Please, we do this series every month, and our next speaker will be Amrita Neelakandan. So please follow us to know the dates. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Ayan. All the best. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.